I was 7 years old the first time I put on a uniform. My mom was a single mother of four, working and going to school. And one of her friends, Officer Mike Teeter, the chief of the Atwater Police Cadets, let me join early to give her some breathing room. Normally, kids didn't start until 10, but he made an exception. I was so young, I struggled with my left and right in formation, trying to keep pace with kids years older than me. Those early years in the cadets were my introduction to hierarchy, discipline, and the idea that there were systems you could master. Marching in line, learning commands, watching how authority moved. It left an imprint. It gave me a taste for structure and a sense that there was a bigger game being played, even if I didn't yet understand the rules. By the time I was 12, something else had taken root, an autistic obsession with the Enlightenment. Not in the casual school project way kids latch onto a topic, but the kind where you inhale every scrap of knowledge you can find and live inside it. I read the Founding Fathers, Thomas Paine, Common Sense. I devoured books on revolutions, on the fall of empires, on the idea that reason, not monarchy, not religion, could be the foundation of an entire society. I wanted to know what made a revolution possible. What made a people rise up and say enough? What made power crumble? I wanted to be a part of something bigger than myself. I wanted to see a revolution in my lifetime. And that was how they got me. The Tea Party, in its earliest form, before Obama was even elected, was people setting up tents, giving speeches about liberty, ranting about taxes, talking about how the government was corrupt and had betrayed the American people. I first encountered it in 8th grade, late 2007 into early 2008, before it even settled on the name Tea Party. And to a kid obsessed with revolution, it seemed like it had everything I was looking for. They weren't talking about overt racism or Christian nationalism. Not yet. They were talking about how the people needed to take back their country. How the government had become an enemy of the people. How we needed another American Revolution. And when you're young, when you don't yet have the tools to critically analyze the systems of power, when you don't yet understand that the rhetoric of revolution can be weaponized by reactionaries, those ideas sound good. They sound righteous. They sound like a call to arms. But the thing about reactionary movements is that they don't show you the full picture right away. They lead you in with broad ideas, liberty, self-governance, anti-corruption. And once you're in, once you start seeing them as the ones who are fighting for freedom, that's when they start guiding you deeper. By the end of 8th grade, I wasn't just watching Tea Party speeches in tents. I was fully immersed in the world of right-wing online extremism. But this was before the algorithmic rabbit holes, before social media spoon-fed you content to radicalize you passively. You had to seek it out, and I did. I was in militia forums, end-timer conspiracy chat rooms, reactionary spaces where grown men were talking about civil war, about how the government was going to come for our guns, about how we needed to prepare for the coming collapse. And I was just a kid, barely 13, soaking it all in. Because when you're a lonely teenager, when you feel like the world is spinning out of control, when you want something to believe in, this kind of rhetoric gives you purpose. It makes you feel like you're part of something bigger than yourself. It makes you feel like you're in on a secret that everyone else is too blind to see. At the same time, in the cadets, I'd been promoted to field training officer. That meant I wasn't just learning, I was leading. I was running drills, correcting stances, teaching the younger cadets the mechanics of formation and command. And because my online life was steeped in militia culture and survivalist paranoia, I started mixing in things no normal 13-year-old cadet instructor would. I was drilling my trainees in the principles of Sun Tzu and Clausewitz, not because the program called for it, but because I was being groomed into thinking that war, civil war, was coming, and that preparing for it was noble. My two worlds were bleeding together, the official hierarchy of a youth police program and the shadow hierarchy of a movement training me to think like a future domestic terrorist. And they knew that. They cultivated that feeling. They made sure you felt like you were waking up to the truth while everyone else was still asleep. They made sure that questioning them felt like betraying the movement, betraying the people who had shown you the light. And once you're in, it's hard to get out because these communities don't just offer ideology. They offer belonging. They offer certainty. And they make sure that leaving feels impossible. They build their entire worldview around the idea that they are the last line of defense against a corrupt and collapsing world. They tell you that the media is lying, that the government is compromised, that the schools are brainwashing you. They tell you that the left wants to destroy everything you love. They create a reality where anyone who questions them is an enemy, a traitor, a tool of the system. And in that world, questioning isn't just dangerous, it's betrayal. And when you're young, when you haven't yet developed the critical thinking skills to break down propaganda, when you don't have the life experience to see through manipulation, you believe them. You internalize it. You let it shape how you see the world. And for a while, you stop questioning. I fit the profile. White passing, isolated, socially awkward, chronically online, incel adjacent, spending my days in radicalized spaces. By every statistic, I could have been one of those kids who never made it out. I could have been another mass shooter, another domestic terrorist, another lost mind swallowed by a movement designed to turn young men into weapons. And if I hadn't broken free, if I hadn't started questioning, if I hadn't started seeing the cracks in their logic, who knows where I would have ended up. But the thing about these ideologies is that they only work if you never stop to think, if you never stop to ask yourself, is this actually freedom? Is this actually about liberty? Or is this just another form of control? It didn't happen all at once. It never does. But there were moments, little things that didn't sit right with me. Moments where the rhetoric didn't match the reality. Moments where I started to feel like maybe, just maybe, the people who claimed to be fighting for freedom weren't actually fighting for freedom at all. I didn't know it yet, but those cracks were the beginning of something bigger. They were the first steps toward breaking free, toward deprogramming, toward rebuilding my entire worldview from the ground up. At 14, I thought I was part of a revolution. I thought I was standing on the side of freedom. I thought I had found my cause. But I hadn't yet realized that the revolution I was looking for, the real revolution, was something completely different. And that realization was coming faster than I ever could have expected.